I want to ask the question of why do people leave the sport of powerlifting? I personally would like to kind of go in the direction of powerlifters 18 plus. What makes them stay in the sport? What kind of even drew them to the sport of powerlifting in general? And I want to kind of contrast men versus women because I think they have different reasons that they might even enter the sport versus why they leave the sport, and different motivations in that way.
Okay, welcome to season 2 of Unleashing Power. I'm joined today by Hope. Hope, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Hope Showers. I'm a powerlifter in Northeast PA. I'm so up by Scranton area, and I met Sarah through powerlifting community. Probably like I stalked you before I knew you, so I've probably known of Sarah like for a year or so, but I think I've known you for about 6 months or so.
Can you explain a little bit about this project that you've been working on and what sparked the interest in this?
So, it is kind of interesting. So basically, I have a project. I want to kind of ask the question of why do people leave the sport of powerlifting? We're still kind of nailing down and chiseling away at what the specific questions are, and even what demographic we're asking it of. I personally would like to kind of go in the direction of powerlifters 18 plus. What makes them stay in the sport, what kind of even drew them to the sport of powerlifting in general. And I want to kind of contrast men versus women because I think they have different reasons that they might even enter the sport versus why they leave the sport, and different motivations in that way. Kind of what started it all. And I was like thinking about how I wanted to talk about this because basically, I don't know if you remember. I know you're on my close friend story, but and you can use as much or as little as this as you want. But on my close friend story, probably in the summer sometime, I posted basically kind of posed the question of is it harder to date as a female powerlifter versus a male powerlifter?
I do
And
remember that, yes.
and it was a very interesting poll because like a lot of different opinions were being thrown around and women were like weighing in and they were like, yes, it is harder because, well, let me just say it this way. Both men and women were weighing in and were saying, yes, it is harder for women to date in powerlifting because of just like the stereotypes of different things of a woman's strength and of time constraints, kind of going back to like traditional or stereotyped gender roles of like a woman who might have a kid, raising the kid, that more of the responsibility falls on the woman. It still tends to be that way to some extent. And especially like if your partner isn't into powerlifting, what does that look like? It goes from being like a hobby to like this thing is in the way of our life together.
Right.
So I just kind of posed this question because I looked at a lot of men in powerlifting and noticed that a lot of their significant others weren't necessarily in powerlifting. A lot of them might have dabbled in it, or they might be like PT. That's like a really common trend I noticed, like anecdotally. But there was not necessarily like a lot of like men and then women. Whereas if a woman powerlifts almost like all the time, like the man was very into sports, but or also did powerlifting. And so anyway, so like this question kind of like was running around my head, and then it kind of had me go down this like rabbit trail. So after like a lot of my close friends contributed to like weighing in their opinion, it kind of like led down this rabbit trail. Well, like why do women leave? Why do men leave? Why does anyone leave the sport of powerlifting? Because then I started like thinking about like it does feel like a little bit of a higher turnover rate to me. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but it does feel like there is a turnover rate in powerlifting that like in terms of adults that enter sports. I feel like if a guy's in a rec basketball league, he's in a rec basketball league, and it's like a
Yeah,
season commitment. So every season he just kind of does it.
right.
Powerlifting is a year-long sport, and it's a little bit of a different commitment, which we can talk about that a little bit. But I do feel like there is more of a turnover rate that someone does powerlifting for 1 year or 2 years. They do one meet, two meets, and then they stop. And so I kind of was just asking this question: well, what does that look like for men versus women? Men or do women leave more often than men, and kind of why? But in general, I want to ask the question of why are people leaving the sport in general?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think there's so many things that it could be and so many speculations that you can make. I think also it's interesting the age ranges that you see as well because like you said a rec volleyball league or something like that is typically from what I've seen, it's career people after work going on Monday nights or whatever. It's once a week or whatever. And it's kind of like you said, low commitment, but typically it's like the same demographic, the same age range, the same, you know, career industries, stuff like that, where powerlifting, we really get such a large melting pot. There's kids in the gym that are 15 years old powerlifting, which is incredible for me to see.
Yeah.
I was like just going to the gym at Planet Fitness and doing my little treadmill for 15 minutes when I was that age, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And then there's people that are, 70 that are doing it
Yep.
as well. So,
Yep.
and all
Which
different
that
kinds.
blows my mind too. Like you're right. Like I think about my mom. My mom could do powerlifting if she wanted
Yeah.
to. Like there's a place for her in this sport. So it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, 100%. And like different tax brackets, different career
Mm-hmm.
paths, everything. Like it's really, I'm always overwhelmed at how many different people powerlifting draws in, which I think makes it
Yep.
so cool. But I think that also lends itself to be a little bit more confusing and probably makes you have your work cut out for you because there are so many different reasons. Like, you might see a lot of people say that they quit because they did it when they were in high school and then they graduated high school and no longer really had time for it anymore.
So that was one thing that I'm pretty confident we are going to do 18 plus
Okay.
for that reason,
That's right.
because I think, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, and I have like I explained a little bit to you, I have like a professor from Wilkes University, Dana Manning, who's helping me like oversee all this, and so I kind of threw out that idea of like 18 plus just because I do think high schoolers leave things just because of so many different reasons.
Yeah.
That I think like it could be why they leave track or why they leave doing theater or band, right? Like there's just not
Right.
really the time or the place, or career takes over. And that might be similar to why adults leave too. But why did adults get into it in the first place? Like those obstacles
Right.
already existed. Whereas kids entering adulthood, these are now new added obstacles. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious of like the people that entered knowing these are the obstacles, or at least hearing that these are the obstacles, why did they leave now? Because those obstacles didn't really change. They might have just started
Right.
aggravating their life differently. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm like looking at it too. I'm not like opposed to doing younger, but I'll talk to more about that to Dana and just see what she thinks, like weighing the pros and cons. But that's why I'm leaning towards like adults by like the technical definition of it.
No, and I think that's really smart to kind of figure out who your audience is so that you can kind of come to conclusive results rather than completely inconclusive and just have your, what do they call it, like survey group or
Yes, like where you can't draw any themes or conclusions from it because it's like so all over the place. And that's another thing Dana has been warning me of, because like I don't want my cake and I want to eat it too. Like she has asked me like, is this something we could just survey just men or women from? But I really want to contrast and compare the two groups together.
Yeah.
Because I do think there's going to be completely different reasons. I think there are different pressures on men versus women. I think there's different pressures on families. Like I think there's different pressures on it. Like I'm single, right? Like I don't have to take care of a kid when I get home. I don't have to pick a kid up from school. I don't have to like take care of care for a spouse, and like, you know what I mean, in different ways like that. So I do have less pressures on me in that way. And like a lot of people have asked me, well, is this something you're going to keep doing until like forever? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what my life is going to bring. And so like I won't know what it's like to have a significant other or a kid until I have a significant other or a kid in the sport of powerlifting, to even know if I can do all of it. But that's why I think I did it kind of like, as of now, I'm kind of thinking like breaking up like 18 to kind of like the juniors basically. So 18 to 23, 24 to the end of open, which I believe is 39, and then 40 plus, just to kind of like, I think there will even be interesting results too. Like you said, like the 70-year-old woman or 70-year-old man who joins and he now has his kids out of the house. Like there's different pressures and social support that he's going to receive from it than I would or you would.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think, like you were saying, men versus women, you could always filter it down. Like you can always take away an entire group if you want to, but I think why not, collect all the data that you possibly can and then figure out where you want to go from there.
Exactly. And like that was something she had said too. Dana was kind of saying like, and I expressed this a little bit to you, like she has some concern of people who no longer powerlift. Like, are they going to want to like participate in this survey? I think they will. I think like getting it out there so that they know, like that's going to be a little bit of an added obstacle. But a lot of people who used to powerlift still follow their old coach or go to the gym in general. So still getting their input is going to be important. And then if I decide to kind of focus on, all right, let's just focus on for this part, why do people join? Why are people staying? And kind of like put aside this information of the people who have left and why they've left. Maybe that's too many questions to answer in one project. So then at least I have that information and I can decide after what I'm going to use and what I'm going to draw themes from.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. And we talked about this, but I do feel like it's a little bit of a different survey than just kind of a cold, like you call AT&T and they say, "Oh, how is your service?" You know, you're never going to answer that
Yeah.
because you don't see the point or you don't really have like a personal connection to AT&T. Whereas if
Yep.
somebody reaches out and asks you something that you either were once passionate about or are still passionate about, I think people could talk for days about.
I agree. They want to talk about their experience.
Yeah.
I'm excited to kind of hear, like, that's why I'm so excited about it too. Cause, like, even though it was silly, like, my poll on my close friends, like, even though it was silly, like, I would say, I don't know, I have like probably like 80 people on there or something. And I would say like 30 people responded to that and they wanted to give their input of like why they thought this or that. And it was like a discourse back and forth. And like, that's what I'm excited about too, if there's an element of, so like there will be just a quantitative of like, can we find themes from this and this characteristic, but then I would like there to be almost like a qualitative element to the study, whether it's an additional survey or what, that kind of asks like specifics. Can you tell me a little bit about your story,
Yeah.
and maybe even draw some themes from that, because I think people want to talk about their experience. I think people, whether it was really negative or really positive, I think people are opinionated about powerlifting and their
Yeah.
experience in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And people always want to see, well, I don't know. This might be me projecting, but I always think that people would like to see the changes that they want to see actually implemented.
Yes.
So if
Yep.
you're offering kind of a, not even a solution, but just a way for them to air their grievances or get their ideas out there, I would hope that people um, would be willing to get that out there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of why I want to do this study. Like I have like a couple friends or a couple people that I would say have like left powerlifting or are still in powerlifting but have some negative thoughts about it sometimes. And
Hmm.
I think I'm not a coach. I don't want to be a coach. That's not really how I ever see myself giving back to the sport. But I do think it would be so beneficial if there can be someone, and I hope to kind of do this in my own way, if there can be someone who can collect information to give to coaches, to give to federations, to give to just the community in general, to make it more positive, to make it so people stay in it. Like that is something I'm very passionate about, is like specifically like my soapbox is I didn't like to lift and I didn't like to work out, and then it's like now here I am powerlifting, and if I can help increase other people longevity in the sport or longevity in just their health journey, like I would
Yeah.
love to help that community do that. So,
Absolutely. I think that's a very noble venture. And
and I want to say, like, I'm such a rando too who's doing this. Like, I'm like, I am not a. This isn't for my master's, my doctoral thesis. Like, this isn't for me. This isn't for like my career or whatever. And I feel like the need to say that I am trying the most best of my ability go about this the right way so that it can be like hopefully published in a journal at some point, so it will be like approved by the IRB, so something research bureau. Don't ask me what it means, but I'm telling you,
international?
I'm a rando. I don't know enough information about, but I have Dana kind of sitting over top of this, so that it can be done the right way. And like this is just something I'm passionate about. Like this is something I want to bring to the community, and I want it to be done the right way. I want it to be accurate results, so I'm not like just lying and making things up, but like I want this to be something that's usable and provable. But at the end of the day, I'm just a rando. Like I'm just a rando doing this for fun, kind of. So I feel like the need to say that because like I feel like I don't know, like there's like you have to do things a certain way in credentials. Like I think sometimes I mean you could agree with this. Powerlifting community is probably a little oversaturated with coaches right now who might not have the credentials, right? But there is some beauty in that, in the sense that you don't always need to have credentials to do the right thing as long as you go about it the right way. So even
Right.
though I'm not doing this for a master's or a doctorate or anything like that, it's just research that I want to have for the community to have.
Yeah. And I agree. Who knows? Like maybe it'll go nowhere, but I also think
Yeah.
that the community is small enough and there
Yeah.
is kind of a hole, like a area for that you never know whose like ears or attention it could fall onto, you know. So you've already explained how you got this idea, what steps you've kind of taken so far. And I think you've touched on it a little bit, but can you tell me like what out of anything, what are you hoping to take away from this?
The biggest thing I want to take away from this is I want there to be like an accurate picture of what powerlifting is and making it more sustainable. So, like I already kind of said, I'm like a I want my cake and I want to eat it too person, but I feel like I've figured out in my life a lot of I've tried to incorporate, or I strive for it anyways, balance. I'm like careful how I want to say this too, because I also very aware that I am in a privileged position, right? The idea that I can even pursue a hobby in my adult life is a privilege. Like I
Yeah.
have the money, I have the time. Like there are people who might be taking care of family and so they can't. They might have a career that they need every penny they can get, and so they can't spend it on powerlifting or spend the time in powerlifting they need to work, right? So I'm very understanding that I am privileged in that way, but I do feel like there is this perception that powerlifting is it's impossible to have a day job and a social life and a family and all these different things. Like it's hard to balance it, but I think
Right.
there is a way that we can find this balance. And I think a lot of it is going to come back on perception of things. So if like the research turns out, a lot of people just say they don't have enough time. I know it's something that my coach has said to me, I think me, but if not me, other athletes, like if there's seasons where you need less accessories, have less accessories. And that's something that I wish I knew. I know I saw like a post about it, probably like a couple months ago from one of the different like team accounts that are out there somewhere in the state of Pennsylvania, I think. But just kind of like the idea of like, hey, 3 lifts, 3 workouts, sessions a week are better than like none, right? So
Mhm.
if it means pulling back, like you only have day 1, 2, and 3, that's okay. Like you'll still progress, maybe slower, but is the idea is like I think people are like, I want the end goal. I want to be so strong and I want to be the strongest person and I want to go to worlds. And then they lose sight of the forest for the trees because do you like powerlifting or not, right? And so like this idea
Mhm.
of like it's all right to slow down in certain seasons. It's all right to take a step back. It's all right, and you should have a social life still with powerlifting. You should
Yeah.
still have these other things. You might not be the greatest of all time doing that, but you will be a happier individual and you might stick with the sport of powerlifting for much longer. And like again, I don't want this to come out of turn, and like I'm always careful like how I try to say things that I don't regret it later, and I don't want to come back in like 3 years and I'm super bitter towards powerlifting. Like that was actually the biggest thing I said to when I joined with Jeremy. I said to him at one point, I was like, powerlifting right now is so much fun for me, and I'm looking for a coach who can keep it fun.
Yeah.
And I know that's partly my responsibility as an athlete, but like that is huge for me.
Mhm.
If like I have a coach that's on me about I'm eating this crap or I'm spending out too late with my friends, like I do sometimes make bad decisions in that way, but like overall I'm a very balanced person and I am an adult about things, and if I had a coach that was constantly on me,
Mhm.
that would drive me crazy. So like it's just one of those things, like I want to keep powerlifting fun for as long as possible, because I think I've done other things in my life that haven't been fun for a long time, and then I wonder why am I even doing it anymore.
Mhm.
It's not even making me money, and it's just this thing I feel like I have to do, this burden, right? So anyways, that's a big long answer, but kind of like keeping powerlifting fun, like how can we do that, how can we keep it sustainable for lifters? And I think a lot of it we're gonna already know these things, like it's going to be time, it's going to be money, it's going to be these different things, but what are the patterns and what demographics are telling themselves it's this versus that? I mean,
Mhm.
I personally, hypothesis, I think men are going to be, I'm not going to say like women are above this, but this is a generalization. So if you think this is a crazy opinion, I would love to hear your thoughts too on it. But I think men might be more bothered by comparison game a little bit. And I know like all powerlifters in general are going to be bothered by like a comparison game to an extent. But I think the biggest reason men might quit is not seeing success enough in the sport. Whereas I think women, it might be some success, but I think it might be a time element a lot more than men personally.
Mhm.
It might be like a social element. It might be family planning element. And I'm not saying men don't experience any of that, but that's my general thoughts and opinions of what I've seen and talked to people. But I could be wrong. And that's kind of why I also want to like ask this question of like, is anyone like, is it everyone that's bothered by not being successful enough at first?
Yeah.
Because I know I'm sure you've played the comparison game and you see people who just started last month and they're already a bigger total than you, right? Like I want to have my girlfriend be my girlfriend, so I'm not going to be like eyeing up her total and like calculating. And I think men are just a little bit more like honest about being ruthless and being like, yeah, I have a bigger total than you. What are you going to do about it? I don't hear a lot of women talking back and forth. But anyways, that was a whole lot of whatever. That was a roller coaster of my thoughts. But yeah, I do want to kind of figure out like why is it that people are quitting and how can we make it just more sustainable in general for men and women.
Yeah. I think the other thing, if I could just interject, so the men versus women, the way that I see it is that men, and this is very stereotypically, historically, like, looking back over history as a whole and not currently really where we are now. But historically, men have been more competitive environments. They have to compete for the top jobs. They have to compete in sports. Again, this is like historically. I know women sports, but I think men do really well with competition because historically that's what they've been asked of. Whereas women, we compete with each other on a whole different level. Like we're competing for men's attention, right? And again, this is very stereotypical, like societal norms that we're speaking of. But women have had to be prettier or more attractive to men or, you know, be able to bear children and stuff like that. So I think in the powerlifting realm, competition, men are seeking out competition because they don't want to just go and get a consolation prize because they showed up. Whereas women are kind of okay with that because, and again, like, I don't know if this is true. Women might be just as cutthroat as men, but I have seen, generally speaking, I think women are able to go into a competition and think more of the me versus me aspect, whereas men
Yes.
are not thinking me versus me. They're thinking me versus every other man that's here,
Yep.
whether they're in my weight class or not. And so I think that might be a big like disparity between genders. But I don't know.
That's a really good like a point, yeah.
That's just my observations.
What would you say personally as like an athlete powerlifting? Like what would you say your personal obstacles are? Like would you say success? Like if you when on your hardest days when you're like, man, I might quit today, like what usually do you think is the driving force of that like feeling of I might need to quit? Like is it success? Is it time? Like what would you say personally?
Time, not so much, because like you, I am very blessed to have a very regular kind of 8:30 to 5 job, and I've carved out the time. I don't have kids. I don't have family members that I need to take care of, that kind of stuff. I think the days that I've really felt like I was gonna quit, I think more than anything else, it's myself.
Interesting. Okay.
So, like, I've sustained a few injuries before, and that has been a really hard challenge. You know, when you're not lifting as heavy as you think you should be because you're still coming back from an injury or you're scared of getting injured again or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. I don't think it's ever been because of other people. I know, and again, other people would yell at me for saying this, but like, I know that I'm not going to be with Sonita squatting 700 pounds. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
maybe that's me limiting myself, but I kind of know where I'm at in life, and I know that that's not really my trajectory, and I'm completely fine with that. So I don't think that's ever caused me to want to quit before. If anything, it's probably just myself letting me down, whether it's I'm not working hard enough or I'm not my body isn't holding up, and that kind of stuff.
And that's interesting to me too. Like, if I can just like kind of like bounce some ideas off you. Like, first of all, I want to say, like, I don't want to be like, no, Sarah, like, there's no, but like, I understand what you're saying. And to an extent, I do want to say, like, I don't know if like this is like this is a bold comparison, but like I do look at someone like Jurgens, right? And Jurgens, like, he probably didn't think he was gonna be number one in the world after getting like, I forget what he was. I think he was like eighth, something like that. He didn't do as well, and it was world competition or at least his nationals or something. But like in 21 or 22, he didn't place nearly as well, to the extent that he was considered like kind of like this underdog that conquered this last session at Worlds.
Yeah.
And so like I do think there needs to be something said for powerlifters. Like, you don't know what's going to come out of it yet. I mean, even look at Alejandro. Like, he started a little bit later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like he probably didn't know he was going to be as competitive as he was in the sport of it. And like, I'm not saying that's everyone. Like, these might be the genetic freaks of powerlifting, right? Because those do exist. But like, to an extent, no one probably is boring thinking they're gonna be like this great of this sport. And then when you start the sport, everyone always like, they're like, I struggled to get the bar, like to press the bar when I first lifted for the very first time at like 19 or 18 years old. I like couldn't even bench 45 pounds. And so it's like, you never think like, oh, you're gonna progress or you're gonna do so much better. You don't know what your progress yet is. So I mean, like, there's that to be said. How you were saying about like, it's not really time, not necessarily comparison to others, but like yourself. So like, injury and pain is definitely one of the options we'll have on the survey of like on our quantitative one, where it's like a little bit more like, from this list, what are the biggest reasons that you would consider quitting? And then what are the biggest reasons that you have quit? So injury and pain does take a lot of people out. I think that would be beneficial for coaches to realize, hey, 80% or 70% or whatever this amount of people it is that injury and pain kind of stops them from the sport of powerlifting. Like, I think it would be beneficial for them to see how many people are saying that's something. I mean, it's so silly, but like, I had like this summer, whenever I first started with Jeremy, I think in June or something. And I remember it was just a change in programming than I was used to. Not necessarily like better or worse. It was just different than I had been training in powerlifting. And I remember being like sore in some ways. Like, it was almost like, and I talked to him a little bit about it, but like my central nervous system felt just a little bit more shot under his like programming. And I remember thinking, it's like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, and it's almost like that fear of like, I'm gonna feel like this every day. I'm gonna like, it's gonna be so hard for me to go to the gym, and like sitting at my desk, I just feel like I remember like feeling like, I didn't tell him all this, so if he hears this, he's gonna be like, what? But like, I remember like my like just having like not spasms, but like a little bit like I don't know if it was dehydration. I don't know. Again, like, they've stopped, so I think we're good. But like, almost like, I think it was like the change of programming, maybe not recovering enough in between, and just like me thinking like, and then like you start spiraling, and like, that's such a silly example to get scared over. It's not even a real injury, but like, then you start spiraling. You're like, what if I become paralyzed? And you're just like, it's not gonna be like that, but like, not necessarily, but like, that's like a small percentage of powerlifters get that injured, right? And so I just think about it, and I'm like, there is that fear of injury that I almost feel like is a component of why people quit too, is like just being sore and in pain,
and I
feeling
think
for beating your body up.
I think powerlifting, this might be a hot take. It's not really.
I'm ready for it. I love hot takes.
Powerlifting is like not good for your body. Like, we're we're building muscle mass, and we're trying to get our protein in, and we're stressing our whatever. Like, we're building muscle, we're getting stronger, we're in the gym. That's healthier than sitting on the couch. But there are a lot of stressors that powerlifting puts on your body that it's not sustainable for a long amount of time, especially if you're doing it. And there's different levels too, right? Like, there's you're trying to go to IPF Worlds and you're putting yourself through this strenuous stuff. And we won't even talk about untested lifters, the stresses that puts on your body and your organs. And then there's the casual person who comes in, squats, benches, and deadlifts and goes home. So there's obviously a wide array within that. But that that takes me back to like powerlifting is not good for your body.
Sorry, I laughed so hard at that because that was so real.
So you were saying the pains that you were having.
Yes.
And you were having this fear of injury. I think it's not going to feel good. Like your body is not, you're not going to be like, I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. Like some people talk about they take up running or like kickboxing and they're like, oh, I feel so good. My body feels so good. I don't think powerlifting is ever going to be that for your body. But with that being said, I think that it's very easy to sensationalize injury, and I've done it. Like, so the very first time I got injured, I sprained my SI really bad. I was going down into the hole with 2 reds on the bar, which was not a lot of weight for me at the time. And I felt this big pop and I was in the gym by myself because I was actually traveling to Chicago that weekend. And I felt a pop. I had to stand up with it. But I could barely even re-rack my weights. Like I could barely walk. I had to leave my gym bag at the gym because I couldn't even pick up my gym bag. So obviously that was bad. But I've had little tweaks since then. And it's so easy to fall down that rabbit hole of I'm going to be back to squatting just the bar again, not being able to do anything, having to take time off from the gym. I won't be able to walk. Like you were saying, get paralyzed, all that kind of stuff. And your mind just goes to that worst case scenario. But I think it's important to remember in times like that, you do what you can and you don't diagnose yourself before you even know how you feel. Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
You could go home.
Your imagination is crazy sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly. You could go home and feel like crap and wake up the next day and feel completely normal.
Yep.
Again.
And it depends on how much emphasis you're placing on like you thinking about that injury or that feeling, that sensation, and then you start like you just start running with it. You start Googling symptoms like did I what's it called? Did I burst like what is this called? The disc? Oh, did it like a disc burst? I'm like you just start thinking crazy things.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting what you said because like it's funny because, like, one of my good friends, her husband one day said to me, he took me off guard. He was, like, talking to me about, like, he works out, like, kind of casually. And he said to me at the one point, and he's like, powerlifting's not good for you. And, like, I just remember, like, I was, like, taken aback. Because, like, everyone thinks, oh, you're in the gym. It's so good for you. Like, you're getting stronger, blah, blah. And when he said that, I was like, I just, like, stared at him, and he's like, well, you're beating down your body. And I, like, looked at him, and I was like, he's not wrong. I don't really have, like, anything to counter with this. And, like, to that extent, I do want to say, like, if I wanted to be the healthiest I ever wanted to be, I wouldn't be in powerlifting, right? Like, I feel like that is an important caveat. Like, if I wanted to be the healthiest, I wouldn't be a professional swimmer. I wouldn't be a professional dancer, right? Like, I think a very important, like, thing that I've been seeing, thankfully, more on, like, social media and stuff, is this idea that, like, athletes aren't necessarily the healthiest people. Now, I would say, I would, like, add, I have become healthier in a lot of ways because of powerlifting. I get better sleep now than I did in college when I really was just going in to kind of mess around. I drink a lot of water. I always kind of do that, but I try to make sure like my nutrition is on so that I feel like I have enough energy for the day. I eat more than I used to because like I used to have like body image issues and I would like kind of like not eat a ton. So powerlifting, you can't just go in the gym with like 400 calories, 300 calories in your system. Like you'll like pass out from squatting. Oh, yeah. So I would say there's a lot of ways powerlifting does improve your health. But I would say if you want to be the healthiest you want to be, you don't want to be an athlete then. You want to be like even like, I mean, I used to do CrossFit and I think CrossFit was like the people diss on CrossFit and some merit to that. But I used to do CrossFit and CrossFit was probably the like best shape of my life I've ever been in the sense that I remember like hiking on the weekends, never being out of breath, and like being able to still like squat. Like I think I was squatting like low twos pretty easily. So all these different things, like I had a good sense of balance of strength and whatever. But even CrossFit, like you have stupid injuries because you're flying around on a bar and like I've tripped over the bar I don't know how many times with barbell burpees because I'm tired and I'm picking my feet up again. And so it's like any sport you do is going to have danger and risk to it. And I even remember like my PT, I had like a thing in college. I jumped off a wall, not even related to a sport. I just jumped off a wall. It was really stupid. But like my PT for that afterwards, I hurt my knee. He said to me, he's like, any sport you do, there's going to be a level of risk, and you have to kind
Mhm.
of decide, is it worth it to you? And he's
Yeah.
like, if you just want to do general strength, it's not going to have as high of a risk. But if you want to push your numbers as far as humanly possible, which that's what powerlifting is, you're pushing your body to the end of its lengths, just like any sport. That's the goal, is pushing your body more and more. You're increasing the risk. But I just think it's like, I'm an advocate for saying, yes, it's not necessarily good for your body, but it doesn't necessarily have to be awful for your body, and it can create a lot of good for it in different ways, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So
And I
I know
think
that was a
your
tangent, but
no, I think your point of it can be good for other things other than just your body as well. Like,
yes,
I think powerlifting is really good for
yes,
body image and making you eat for the people who
yep,
like to starve themselves and stuff like that. Like, it forces you to hydrate, eat a decent amount before your workout, after your workout, and just being around other people who encourage you to make healthier decisions and stuff like that. So I totally agree. It could always be worse. And I think there's so many different aspects of health, what health is. But yeah, that's a tangent.
but I liked hearing your perspective on that a lot, and I really appreciate your perspective on like injury and pain management, because I think that, I don't know, I feel like pain is like a dirty word in powerlifting, but like I would say, maybe this is crazy, but like I would say like most every athlete that powerlifts for more than a year has experienced some sort of pain related
Yeah.
to something they did in powerlifting. And it's like, we should be talking about it. We should just be talking about how to kind of handle it and mentally handle it too. So,
Yeah. And not letting it throw you off course.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. You might have to, you have to talk with your coach, and you have to dial some things back maybe for a bit, but there are a lot of people that can still make impressive gains maybe in their bench when they have like a lower body injury, or make impressive gains in their lower body. Like even like if you have a shoulder injury, you can do SSB and stuff like that. You
Hmm.
can still do your squat and build that up a lot. So, yeah, just making the changes and still sticking with it, I think, is important. But
Yeah. And having a coach who has a lot of experience in, making the adjustments that you need while you need to adjust them. I remember when I when I injured my back, I was like, yes, my bench is about to blow up. And I feel like sometimes that's the perspective you need to
yeah,
have too. Like,
yeah,
if you can't do one thing, you can do something else.
yes,
You can always
exactly.
do
You can build
something.
something else up.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So you did already kind of hint at this, but if you had to guess, what would you say is going to be the biggest thing, the biggest reason why people quit powerlifting?
Well, now you got me thinking, so maybe I'm not as like solid in what I thought it was anymore. Because I think I overlook sometimes pain and injury. Like I almost like, maybe this is like an ignorant way of looking at life. Like I'm a little bit more of a tough love person. I'm like no excuses type of person. I try to be
Mm,
very empathetic. I try to be like very like feel your emotions and process through it and stuff. But like I'm also very like, come on, let's push through. So
yeah.
sometimes, like with injury and pain, I don't even look at it as a reason for quitting, because I'm like, okay, like that's allowed. I'll allow you to quit powerlifting for pain or injury. But then, like sometimes I think about like time, and like I struggle with that one, because like I feel like I'm really busy, but I also know that like again, I'm privileged and I have blessings, right? But I look at times like when I first started powerlifting, I really didn't have I was hustling. Like I had 4 jobs at the time in the beginning of 2023. Like I did not like it was right after college. Like I was like hustling, right? And so
Yeah.
I kind of look at that and I'm like, well, I still had time for it then, but I also had like a support system. So I can't even like say that necessarily. So in a lot of ways, like when I look through like the different reasons why someone might quit, I really think probably like if I go with my gut, I really think the biggest reason people might quit is not actually having a support system. So like because like you said, like time is tricky because it might be time, but I feel like people make time for things that they love, right? And so I
Hmm.
kind of go back to the question of like, so why do people stop loving powerlifting? And really kind of like a big driver that I've noticed as like I feel like a theme in a lot of people who powerlift is they have a lot of people in their life that support them in doing it.
Hmm.
And I think like if I could name one factor that I think could make or break your powerlifting journey, your athletic journey. It might not even be powerlifting. I would really say it's social support. Whether that's friends, whether that's your family member. Like I know how beneficial it is. Like I talk about my mom and dad a lot. Like I love them so much, and like they aren't perfect for sure, but like my dad will like I'll come home from break. I'll come home like during like holidays and stuff, not break anymore, but like during holidays, and I'll visit them, and like people in the surrounding area, like church or community, will be like, "Oh, so I hear you like squatted, and I don't know how much weight you did, but your dad said you did really well." And like my mom like showed like pictures of me squatting at a competition once to like her coworkers on Zoom, and like stood up for me, and like I guess her boss was like, "That's a little bit dangerous." My mom was like, "Well, she hopes very safe." And so like I think about that, and like I think about how supportive my family is. My brother kind of is the one who kind of got me into like health and fitness in general. Not necessarily powerlifting, but like, and then like my previous boss at like a gym I worked at, she like kind of started this whole journey with me. We like went through like a free powerlifting program together, and she didn't know anything about powerlifting either. Like she wasn't a powerlifter. Like we just started together. She's like, "I'll just lift whatever you lift." Like not the same weight, but like the same, we'll just do the same thing. Every single day we went to like a powerlifting gym in the area, and we just lifted together. And so like I just think through, and like I could
That's
go
so
on. I could
cool.
go on forever. Like I could go on forever. But like I think like that, if I could name anything that I'm like the most blessed that I have, like the biggest thing that I never want to take for granted is the people in my life. I literally could go on for days. Like I had best friends that came down to Philly for my last competition, and it wasn't like a big competition. It was like a little local meet, and they came from Scranton, so it's like a 2.5 hour drive for them. And like I
Yeah.
like they didn't have to come in person. They don't know anything about powerlifting. Like they're not
Yeah.
like one of them doesn't even do sports. She just crocheted the whole time. And it's like I think through like these people, and I'm like, I am so blessed with these people in my life, and I think that's the only reason that like I can still love it is like these people are asking me questions about how powerlifting's going, and it's not like a burden to them that I'm in it.
Hmm.
Like I spent 4 hours at the gym today. My best friend is not like upset at me that I can't come over to her house afterwards. Like I'll still make her a priority, you know. I'll like still find time to like have quality time with my friends and stuff. But like
Yeah.
they understand it. Like they understand that world, and like I think it through. Like that's the one of the biggest things I look for in like a partner. Even is like they don't necessarily have to be a powerlifter, but they have to understand that world. Because first off, if they don't understand the world of powerlifting, like they're not going to understand all the other crazy endeavors I probably will want to do in my life. So,
Yeah.
but like they have to support that in order for me to be successful and me to enjoy it. So I know. Anyways, so like that's all to say. Like I think time could be a reason that people quit. I think sometimes it is pain and injury, but why do people come back after pain and injury? I really think it's social support.
Hmm.
Why do people make the time for it? I think it's social support, whether it's in the gym or a really supportive spouse, best friends, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. Like I could go on and on about that, but I really think like when I think it through, I think the outlying factor that people will push through like adversity in powerlifting
Hmm.
really is like the social and community aspect.
I agree. And I was going to say, you were talking about your personal support system, which I think is huge. And I think that gets you there. But I don't think this would be like devil's advocate. But on the other flip side of the coin, I have always thought, and I have this idea in my mind, and I might be completely off base, but I think that there's a huge draw to people who don't necessarily have a support system or don't necessarily
Yeah.
fit other communities or have other
Yeah.
communities that are drawn to powerlifting because it is a strong knit community in and of itself. Obviously there's
Yes.
issues, obviously there's beef and stuff like that, but I think at the core it is a group of like-minded people with like-minded goals and aspirations, and that kind of draws people in as well.
Absolutely.
And I do think, so this supports your hypothesis as well. I think a lot of people that I see quitting don't feel, they somehow lose that sense of community, whether it
Yeah.
be the gym they're at or the coaching team that they're on or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Something makes them feel like they're either not a part of it anymore or they're no longer valued as a part of
Mm-hmm.
that community. And I think that is a huge factor in people quitting, because with the amount of attention that those big meets get. Sheffield, IPF Worlds, even USAPL Nationals, USPA Nationals, like all those larger events get so much airtime and they get so talked about, and those people get so talked about, that I think if you're not surrounded by people who are going to remind you how small of a percentage of powerlifting that is, you're going to say, oh, I'm a nobody. Nobody cares about me. Nobody would notice if I just don't come to the gym anymore, you know? But I think
that's a great point.
I think that's what, at least for me, that kind of drew me into the gym, because I knew once I got acquainted with people, it was no longer me just coming in the gym, doing my little accessories and going home. It was me kind of being a part of something bigger. And then if I wasn't there on a Wednesday night, when I'm usually there on a Wednesday night, even if somebody doesn't specifically know me and say, oh, Sarah, where were you? In my head, that keeps me accountable, because I know that they're going to be like, hey, where's that like tall girl? Where's she at?
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's a great point. Like, because like that is something that was so weird, and it was almost like jolting to me when I first started powerlifting, was like coming to the gym and like, so I think it's the powerlifting gym I first started lifting at. I think that was my first. No, that's not true. It was like my second or third gym that I had gone to outside of like my college fitness wellness center, right? But I remember like I went to Crunch for a while in college, and then I went to this like local gym back home, which I guess is similar to powerlifting, but like that's such a good point. Like they do notice when you're gone, and like the community I've built, like I say this all the time to them, like my friends from the gym and even my friends outside of the gym. I'm like, honestly, most of the people I interact on a daily basis with are from the gym world right now. Like and it's like, it's so surreal to think about like how many people, like I feel like you and I would have never met if I wouldn't have been a powerlifter, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's just all these different like people and connections that you get in the gym, and like, and even like I feel like social media kind of creates on a bigger scale of what you're talking about. Like, oh, I haven't seen Hope post anything in like 4 weeks or something. I wonder if she still does like powerlifting, like checking in. Like I feel like that creates that sense of accountability too. And powerlifters love their social media. So like there's rarely a powerlifter out there that doesn't have like an Instagram that they post on weekly, right? So it's like one of those things that's like, that keeps you accountable somewhat too, is like people are like they might not be like waiting on the edge of their seat for your reel to come out if you benching 148 for 5, but like they might be like, I haven't seen her post anything like in a while.
Do
like
notice,
you kind of
like, yeah, even if you're not necessarily friends with the person, like you notice when people stop posting.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that's such a great point. Like the community is, I think, one of the biggest draws to powerlifting too, even though it's not perfect. And federations sometimes overlook things that I don't think they should overlook, injustices and stuff. And like I even tie that into the survey a little bit of like, I'm careful with how I say this, but like maybe some misconduct being the reason that some people leave the sport of powerlifting. But like that's not perfect. That's like a very ugly part of this community, or any community with like sports community, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I would say like the community does have a lot of good in it. And there, like a lot of the community makes me very hopeful because of how, even if that rando who doesn't know me at the gym, they haven't seen me in a while, they kind of think about that, or they might reach out to me on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like that makes it special, I feel like, in powerlifting.
Yeah, agreed. And I think I don't want to just like brush over any like bad stuff that goes on, but I also think that kind of happens everywhere, and you're not going to escape that in life. So kind of leaving an entire sport just because of something that rubbed you the wrong way or something that you didn't like. I don't know. People have reasons for doing things, and they're completely valid if that's, you know, what you want to do. But I also think it's important to remember that nothing's always going to be perfect. And like, if you want to talk about federations, the people who are running them are people, so they're completely flawed as well. So nothing is ever going to be perfect. And I think as people kind of bounce around, the grass isn't always greener, you know?
I think did we talk about this at all, or did I talk to other people about like the federation? This might be like a rabbit trail.
I asked you about your PLA experience.
Yes. And just like it's just interesting to me because I I'm just very careful. Like I'm not a brand loyalty type of person unless I can truly stand by something. So like
Yeah.
I competed in USAPL and Powerlifting America this year. And to me, I'm just going to keep competing in whatever I feel like competing in. I know like cuz of Article 14, I won't be able to compete in Powerlifting America until like I think next end of I think 2026. But like okay, like all of these different things. Like I just in my personal opinion, I'm gonna compete where I want to compete in. Like you know what I mean? I'm gonna
Yeah.
compete to have fun, and it's tough because like I do see like this is a real rabbit trail. So whatever you want to do with this, but like I do see like a lot of people are like this federation didn't do anything about this thing, and I'm like maybe that's not just the federation. Maybe it's that person. Like maybe that person like maybe we need it as the community to I don't want to say dox this person but maybe dox them out of the
Yeah.
position they're in because yeah that's not right that that happened that way. It's not right that that was overlooked and allowed. But that's not necessarily like the federation. Like I'm not responsible for that person's misconduct like that person,
Yeah.
but I am responsible at the end of the day to continue to speak up about maybe misconducts that are happening to me or my friend, right?
Right.
But yeah, I see things happening in all the federations, and it's just like it's tough because powerlifting is so niche. I feel like there's a different emphasis placed on responsibility towards the federations than
Yeah.
they are in other sports. Like it's like, oh, we can swing around into all these different federations, and it's not like a perfect one-to-one example, but like the NBA. If the NBA screws something up, there's not another like federation that a professional can play basketball in, right? Whereas
Yeah.
powerlifting, there's a bunch of federations right now, and technically IPF would be like the NBA of the powerlifting world, but really, like at the local level, it's not. So, like, when you look at the federations, it's like, it's impossible to be mad at this one federation for not doing, for the actions of this one person, because it's not the NBA. Like, there's, you know what I mean? So, I don't know,
Yeah.
sorry, that's like a rabbit trail, but like, that gets me like fired up because I'm like, yeah, we as the powerlifting community should stand together and not be okay with these things happening, but I don't think we should dox an entire federation. I think we should just dox that person personally, so.
Yeah. And if you don't like it, like you said, there's other
Yeah.
options that you can
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
if you want to kind of vote with your
Yeah.
money, vote with your loyalty kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that's what's kind of good about it. Sometimes I wish it were more united where
Yeah.
everybody were kind of on the same playing field. But I also see the value in having different federations for different types of lifters as well.
Yeah.
I think like I said before, like the grass is not always greener. If we had one unified body, that wouldn't solve all our issues either.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I distract from the main point,
No, that's
but yeah,
fine.
that's
That's
just
fine.
interesting.
Okay, so one of your main like survey questions or one of your main things, how you posed it to me, was barriers to entry. So I'm curious to hear what you think are kind of the top barriers for people entering powerlifting.
I know, so another good question. And I'm curious to hear what your opinion is too. I think just like I think the most obvious one is probably money.
Hmm.
Like I said, when I first started powerlifting, I had like 4 jobs. I was fresh out of college. Like I honestly, looking back on it, I probably should not have competed when I did because I was poor. I'm very grateful. I am very, very grateful for my job that I have now. But if I was looking financially ahead at the future and I didn't get the job that I got, I think I would have really regretted spending as much money as I did into powerlifting. But
Yeah.
that's all to say. I would say that's probably the most obvious barrier to entry, I would say, because I remember when I first found out you had to pay for the federation and and the competition. I was like, this is like $250 just to compete one time. Like I had no concept of like this world or this sport, and I thought I was just gonna do it one time and be done. I'm crazy. I thought I was
Mm.
never gonna compete again. Like I was like, oh, I'll just do a competition once. So I was just thinking I was throwing 250 down for no reason. Thankfully, I've competed more than that, and I competed more than once that year, so I got my money's worth from my federation
Oh,
there.
good.
But yeah, like I think like looking at it, like the belt and the sleeves and the wrist wraps, the singlet, like I think all said and done, doing it kind of even on the cheaper side, which I did, I would still say it was like $600 to do my
Yeah.
first competition with the gear. And that, again, that's on the cheaper side. That's like if I got pictures for my first one, but that was like the woman who like prepped with me, even though she didn't compete, she actually like donated the money so I could get pictures and stuff. But
Oh,
like,
that's
that's
nice.
like with, she's like, I love her. She's the love of my life. But anyways, but yeah, when I think about it, like I think like with no pictures, if I didn't get the comp tee, if I'm
Hmm.
doing it no frills, like I'm getting like the most basic singlet, like I think it was like 600. And that's a lot of money if you think
It
about
is.
it. Like
Yeah.
that's a good bit of money.
Yeah.
And then like I didn't have a coach at the time, but if I were paying for a coach at that
Yep.
point, that would have been 100 to 150 per month. And then I also didn't pay for a coach, so I didn't know a lot of the things about what gear to get. So I got like cheap gear, and then I realized I wanted needed like more expensive gear because like
Yeah.
the cheap one wasn't gonna cut it. And then I ended up wasting money because I bought like 3 belts at the beginning of powerlifting just
Oh
because I
my
didn't know what I was
gosh.
doing. Like yeah, and I was able to sell 2 of them, so we're good.
Oh, that's
But
good.
yeah, but I would say that's like the most basic barrier to entry. Like time, again, anything takes time. Especially if you're just doing one competition, it's like, okay, I'm going to dedicate 10 to 16 weeks to this competition. So I wouldn't say that's the biggest barrier any more than anything else. Maybe the intimidation factor of just joining a gym and being around people that know how to lift heavy already. I would say
Hmm.
that's a barrier. But yeah, I would say money's the biggest barrier to entry. But yeah, what do you
Yeah.
think?
I I agree, money for sure, between even just everything that you mentioned, but also gym fees. You have to go to a certain
Yes.
type of gym,
Yep.
travel if you're
Yep.
traveling, or if you don't live in an area that has a you know, drivable distance in one day, like hotel lodging, stuff like that. I put time as a cost as well because
Interesting. Oh, I like that perspective. Yeah.
I think I don't have any regrets, but my one thing that I kind of hold on to as I look forward to when I retire from powerlifting is just like spending more time with my family again and stuff.
Mm,
And like they've been very understanding, but I realize like I wouldn't say it's putting a strain on any of my relationships or anything like that, but it definitely is like there is a selfishness aspect where you have to focus on your recovery time. It's not just necessarily the time that you're spending in the gym, time
mm,
away from like friends and family. And then another barrier to entry that I had was just kind of access to information. So I had no idea what powerlifting was, and thankfully there is a lot of good information online about it, but I wasn't necessarily in an area that
mm,
had a lot of powerlifting gyms, or the gym that I started going to, there was like two powerlifting coaches, but they were kind of like general fitness coaches that had powerlifting clients, and it wasn't necessarily the most like they weren't super well versed. Um
mm.
and so I felt like there was a barrier for me just trying to find information. I think I found like a Reddit thread of this guy.
Reddit. Everything was Reddit at the beginning. Yep.
Yes, this guy was from Canada, and he was talking about getting a Fed membership. And I was like, you have to get like a license? Like I didn't understand the
Yeah.
membership aspect,
Yep.
and I didn't understand where I would get it. And there's so many different federations. I didn't know the discrepancies between them. People at the gym that I went to competed in RPS. I thought that was the only thing. Like I thought
Yep.
RPS was powerlifting. So it
Same. That
just
was the same
really,
thought with Powerlift America. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's just so funny because you do your research and there is so much online, but I think almost to a detriment too, where you can't even find all that there is to know. And
Yeah.
so you just kind of piece together little tidbits of information where you can find them. But I think just the knowledge of powerlifting is a barrier in itself, because if people don't know it exists, how can they get into it, you know?
Yeah. That is a good point because I remember like I still remember like looking back looking back on it was so funny because I remember the first time reading like the rules and me being like this is so much to comprehend, and now I'm like, oh, it's so simple. Like it's like
Yeah.
don't jump the rack commands, don't wear stuff that's not approved by your federation. Like it's I want to say it's simple now, but I remember being overwhelmed. Like I probably read the rule book for Powerlifting America probably 3 or 4 times just to
Hmm.
make sure I wasn't missing anything. And like that's overwhelming. Like that, and I didn't have. I thankfully I had a woman that competed in a competition before she handled me day of. But I didn't know about lifting cast. I
No.
didn't understand the categories and divisions, and I was like checking everything with her. And then I remember there was this guy I went to college with. His dad competed in powerlifting. And so I would ask him questions to ask his dad because I was like, who else knows these answers to powerlifting? It's such a
Exactly.
niche thing. And like at the
Yeah.
time, like I know looking back on it, there were people at the gym I could have asked more questions to, but it was like a little bit embarrassing to ask like the workers at the gym who I know would have probably had the answers for me. Or like some of them I was like, I don't know, maybe this is a me thing, but some of them I was like, I don't know if I trust them because I don't know if they know actually what they're talking about. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna read the rule book even if they do say that this is a rule, like I'm gonna read it to make
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, it is overwhelming. It's like very like I feel like no one no this is gonna be offensive. But I feel like no one in powerlifting, like any of the leadership in powerlifting, also knows how to write anything concise or enough at the same time. Like I feel like everything I read in powerlifting says things like they're like literally trying to write a college essay for 500 words, meet the criteria, but at the same time they say nothing in it at the
Yes.
same time. And I'm like, just like learn, like take a communications class or something and learn how to write. But like no offense to these people, like I'm sure some of them, I'm sure it comes down to like they only have time for so much stuff, and like a lot of powerlifting leaders in powerlifting federations are volunteering a lot of their time. So
Yeah.
I'll give them grace, but I'm like,
Yeah.
man, like it's confusing to a newcomer.
It
Like you
is.
don't know where to start.
It definitely is. I showed up to my first meet and I didn't know what a handler was. I just showed
I'm like,
because
what?
I had this guy that was coaching me, and I'll get into this on my own like episode or whatever. I didn't really know the first thing about going to the gym and actually having like a programmed lift. Like I would literally go into the gym and just like max out on leg press and think that I was like doing something. Like
Memories of like when I looked in like some of my like training logs the other day in my notes app, and I like had like I just like that day I like went up to I used to do like Olympic lifts too for like CrossFit. I didn't do CrossFit as much anymore, but I would do like the clean, right? And I like four of the logs that I looked at just had me going up to like 135 for one. Just like every single day I went to the gym, I did a clean for 135. That was the workout. I'm like, what's going on? Like it's yeah, exactly. I had no concept that there was like this program that you could follow and it would you would get stronger and develop this sort of strength
oh yeah.
in a regimented way. Yeah.
No. I would
That's
get
so fun.
happy. I would get happy if I could like add a peg on the
Yes.
machine over like months and months
Yeah.
and months.
Too like I remember like my squat in college was like 225 for like all of college. I was like, oh, to go over 225. I'll max out 225 every day I go to the gym for leg day, and that'll be good. And then I'll do some Bulgarian split squats because I see some girl on Instagram do them for a big butt, and that's my leg workout for the day. So yeah, like literally same exact thing. So
Yeah,
funny.
it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, back to what I was saying, like I showed up, I had no handler. Thank goodness. Some other random guy from the gym was there, and he worked at the gym, and he was a college student, so everybody like adopted him as their son. And so
Oh,
a bunch of people showed up to handle him, and so they just kind of like pushed me along in with him. Thank goodness.
I love that. That is so cute. And like that is the community aspect of powerlifting that I
Yes.
love. Like I remember like people being like, handle you, we'll handle you, we'll be around, we'll be around. I'm like, okay, that sounds great. I don't
It's
know really
so
what you're doing, but yeah.
yeah. No, that is the part that I love about it. And I also had no idea that powerlifting meets were like hours and hours long.
Same.
I also didn't know what flights were. That's another thing.
Yeah, same.
I
I love
thought
that.
I thought it was like your little group of 8 to 10 people that you did all your squats, all your bench, all your deadlift, and you were
Yes.
done. And so I did not bring anything to eat.
Snacks.
I think I brought like a bag of candy, sour patch
Sustenance.
watermelons. Yeah.
Yo, Sour Patch hits though, not gonna lie.
Yeah, but okay, so my first meet was an RPS meet and they're notorious for going really long. I think We got there at like 7:30 in the morning. I think it finished around 7 p.m., like 6 or 7 p.m.
How many athletes were there? How many lifters?
I don't know.
That's
Probably not
insane.
many.
That's bad though. That's really bad though. No offense to RPM. Like you were still lifting at like around like 6 to 7 p.m. Or like
Yeah, I
it
was
was like
lifting
this
till
it
at
was the
least
men.
5:30.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. That's crazy.
And the one woman from the gym brought like a double pack of Wawa soft pretzels and she gave me one and that was all I had to go. That and Sour Patch all day.
Oh wait, Sarah. Why didn't you like was there anything nearby you could have like driven out and gotten like a sandwich or something?
Yeah, I think
You're like, nah, I'm fine.
I was so scared of like my stomach hurting or having to go to the bathroom or
Yeah.
something. I think my brother ran out. So my brother and his fiance came. My mom and my dad came, which was the cutest thing ever. And
Oh, no.
I think my brother ran out and got me Starbucks because I was like, oh, I need caffeine. I'm like so tired.
That's the most insane. Well, like I get what you mean though. Like I feel like it's like that's the time is always so ambiguous. Now I think it's like nice that like if there's a what's it called, the second group, so not like the flight, but like whenever they have an AM session and
Session.
a session. So the second session, that's nice because then you know, okay, my session most likely will not be longer than
Right.
into the second session.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right because you just see the start time and you probably think, oh, like you're not thinking about all these other people. Like even during
No.
my training, I wasn't thinking about rest time in comparison to how long it would be between attempts. Like I was doing my attempts whenever I wanted to, and then I realized I had like wait like 10 minutes in between my
Yeah.
every squat, every bench, you know. So
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a big thing.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think people have probably already done it, but I would like to create like a quick start guide of
Yes, I would love for you to do that. I'm your biggest fan. I would love for you to do that.
don't push me into these other passion projects.
Yo, it's good
I
thing I
have
didn't
no
know about your
time.
bingo chart because I was like, your bingo chart. I was like, I love this. I want more. Make more, Sarah. Yeah, but like, no, like I would love that. I think there have been things that have been released, but like, okay, so I followed this one girl. I don't even know her real name, but it's like EO Fit or something like that. On she's a powerlifter, and she's not in my federation. I don't know how I came across her. I think she was an influencer more than she was a powerlifter at the time I followed her or whatever. Or maybe she's like general fitness in a lot of ways, but she did powerlifting meet. And I remember like she just did like what she packs to her powerlifting meets. And I remember like saving that
Mm,
video and
yes.
watching it and like writing it down as a checklist. Like, yeah, there needs to be, I feel like, in a comprehensive place. Like, even like the difference between like, okay, if this is going to be a longer meet, like you pack chicken and rice, pack a
Mhm.
sandwich, right? Or like I remember I didn't know that they were as long as they were until I started watching like videos or reading Reddit posts and people
Yeah.
being like, someone was like, bring a charger, and I was like, all right, I'll bring a charger. I'm bunkering it down for the whole day there, I guess. Like there needs to be like almost like a comprehensive place that like I'm sure there are, but again, there needs to be a comprehensive place where someone puts it together nicely packaged of like
Mhm.
kind of everything you need to know before your first meet. I think that would be so beneficial to so many people that don't have someone guiding, like they might not be able to afford a coach at first. Like coaching is really
Yeah.
expensive. So
Yeah.
having someone
Even
that they can checklist.
yeah, even on like I know this is like dreaming big, but even just like a PowerPoint slides that every
Yes.
federation just throws into their FAQ
Yeah.
section or something.
That's asking a lot though.
I know. But like you said, it's like you read the rule book and you're like, okay, I know
The hip
nothing.
crease, the hip crease picture. Like that's the only thing I know that I needed to squat below the hip crease. That was like I was like trying to like I remember I watched like it was like I've said this for a while. I feel like there should be like there's enough people that know how to use a camera in powerlifting that by this point in the game there should be like a documentary or something that like follows like just like a lifter through a meet, just like follows them packing,
Mhm.
follows them traveling, follows them like follows like how much they're paying for certain things. I feel like there could be like there again, there's enough powerlifters that own a camera. Like use it. I'm speaking out of my butt though, because I literally own a camera and I know it would take work to get that done. But
Yeah.
I just think about that and I'm like, there could be someone that like just follows like almost documentary style so that you can be like, oh, okay. Because I don't know who posted or who made it, but when I first started powerlifting, I would just search powerlifting on like
Mhm.
YouTube, and I would watch like every video I could find. And I watched like one where it was like following Daniela Mello. So that's like circa 2019,
Yep.
2018. And I watched like her talk about, I remember she said she did a different hairstyle for every lift, and she did different shoes for every lift. And like, I just remember like watching that. And even though it was like a little bit more lighthearted and not as informational, it was so beneficial for me to kind of be like, she's eating after bench, it looks like. And
Yeah.
she's sitting down and talking and just resting in between these times. Like, it was beneficial for me to understand the structure of a meet.
Yeah. And now that you mention it, I definitely did watch YouTube videos, but they are highly edited and they just kind of
Yeah.
show the lifts most of the
Yeah.
time. Alejandro and I actually have this thing that we do where we literally just search for first powerlifting meets and we just watch people, and it's absolutely
I love
hilarious
that.
and like
Oh, I
very
love that.
entertaining. Yeah. But
I should do that. I would.
but
I
it's
no. I.
always funny, like, the emphasis that's put on certain things. Everybody
Yep.
always shows them, like, showering in the morning, brushing their teeth. It's, like, very, like, vlog style up until they get to the meet, and then it just stops. And then they're like, every single time, then they're like, "Sorry, guys, I didn't really have time to record, so here are my lifts. Here's my first squat, blah, blah, blah." And it's just so funny because so many of them follow the same exact
Yep.
pattern.
Yep. And you're like, what happened in between? Like, that's what I want to see. Like, yeah, I feel like I watched a video like that where it was like a guy's first meet. And it's always like, I feel like it's like either an influencer or wants to be an influencer, or maybe it's just some kid with a camera. I don't know. But like, I remember watching a video like that where he was kind of like he did that, but like, you didn't, like, I do remember like he had recorded him putting chalk on his legs though. And like, that's the classic, like, to like, oh, it's such a faux pas, right? For your first meet, you don't know the difference between chalk and baby powder, but he put chalk on his legs. And I remember that being recorded, but then everything else, you're right. It was just like him going out and he's like, all right, this is my third. And like, he would do it and he'd be like,
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, it's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw a few videos that was like what I ate at my powerlifting meet, and they were pretty helpful. Obviously, I didn't follow any of
Good.
them, but
Yeah. But yeah, no, like I read Reddit posts. I saw people were like, "This is my packing list," and I basically took that as Bible because I was like, I don't know
yep.
what else to pack, and I'd rather pack too much than not enough. Thankfully, my first meet was like literally 2 minutes from my house at the time, so I
Mm,
was like, if I forgot anything, the woman that like prepped with me, she's like, I can run back and get you anything you need. Like, so like
oh, that's
it was
nice.
really nice, like in that way. But
Yeah. I think I watched a video of Meg squats.
oh,
She
is
showed
she the
what I
redhead?
pack. She owns
Okay, yes,
Buff
yes,
Chick
okay.
supplements.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, she showed kind of what I pack into my competition gym bag. And
Yep,
I followed that, like you said, like law. I was like, yep,
yep.
need this, need this, need this. I
I
think
don't
she,
even know why I need it, but I'll pack it. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I think she
Yep.
had a few like really key things in there too. I think she said either nail clippers or a nail file in case you like break a
Oh,
nail and it's like sharp, like as you're
yeah, that's
deadlifting or whatever.
great.
I was like, that's key. Do you have something that's in your gym bag that's like it's like a little secret, but like it saves you every time?
Like, probably the only thing I can think of, and I haven't needed to use it for me, like in an emergency, but like other people have used it and been like, wow, that's so great you have that, is like, it's doTERRA. So it's an oils. Have you ever heard of doTERRA?
Mm-mm.
My mom, like in late in life, became an oils mom. Do you know what an oils mom is? Is that like, okay, so like she never was
Like
growing up, and
living
like everyone
proof or
around
whatever it
us,
is.
yeah, yeah, like it's like living, young living, or like what it,
Young living.
yes, 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 young living and doTERRA, like the two.
Okay.
I tease her so much for it, but she has this incredible, it's basically like oils mom version of icy hot, and it's incredible. Like, you put it on,
Oh.
my goodness, it numbs everything. It like makes you just feel like a little bit like warmer too, because it's that icy hot feeling. So yeah, like
Yeah.
people at the gym have borrowed that and been like, wow, that's so nice that you have that on
Smart.
you. But
Nice.
it's like Tiger Balm, if you've ever used
Okay.
Tiger
Yeah, yeah,
Balm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That's so funny, oil mom.
Wait, what's your thing? Nail clippers, but is there anything else that like
Nail clippers, and this is more for after the meet, but I hate the feeling after you wash chalk off your hands of how dry your hands are. So I always keep lotion because after a meet and you want to like
oh
go out to dinner or something, I put
yeah,
like lotion on my hands and then I feel brand new.
thought of that sensation of like washing chalk off. Like I don't even I'll have to like pay attention. You're gonna give me like what's it called? It's gonna like drive me crazy now. I'll like be hyper aware of it after I use chalk, but no,
Yeah.
I've never even noticed that sensation.
No, I'm just a very like sensory person.
Yes, sensory.
Um,
That's what I was gonna say.
yeah.
Sensory issues for the chalk now.
And yeah, absolutely. And it dries your hands out. Then you wash your hands. It either leaves a chalk residue, or if you wash it with that like bathroom, like
Yep.
industrial soap,
Hate
it
that soap.
strips
Hate
your
it.
hands of any
Yeah.
oil. So then it's just like dry and uncomfortable. I hate that feeling so bad.
Goodness, yeah, I'm gonna put like lotion in my bag now because of
Yep.
that. That's great.
Lotion and nail file. And you
I
can use
love
the
that.
nail file if you like rip a callus or
Calluses.
something.
That is genius, and I don't know why I haven't thought of that. It's probably because like I like live my life a little bit less prepared than I should. But yeah, like that is genius because like there have been times where people I feel like there's always someone who asks
Mhm.
for a nail file or clippers at like a meet or I feel like at work it happens like every you just always need nail clippers and I should just put it in
Yeah,
my pocket. I should walk around with it every day with it. But
there you go. Okay. Okay. Another question I wanted to ask you. What has your experience been with people who you know, or you can like people that you've seen online, social media, that have quit powerlifting? Is it your experience that they quit and you never hear from them again? Or is it more of like a short term, I'm taking a hiatus, but they call it quitting because we love to sensationalize things?
I've decided to retire from powerlifting. Like that's like the classic meme. I
Big
think
wave now.
Pino Bulldozer or whatever. He like makes jokes of that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so. It's mixed. And like, here's the thing. Like, I support anyone doing like whatever they want as long as it's not like, like don't kill someone. But like, if someone wants to quit powerlifting, they can quit it. Like, that's not like this isn't like a ethical issue of them quitting powerlifting.
Yeah.
Even though I sound like that's how passionate I am, like I don't want people to quit powerlifting. I've always had this issue, like I get so sad when people like leave my life, even if they aren't like my best friend. I just
Yeah.
like get so sad. Like even that PT I was talking about earlier, I remember like when it was like my last time with him, like this is so off topic. I'm so sorry. But literally that PT I was like I'm going to miss him. And I had like 5 sessions with the dude. Like
Yeah.
I just miss people. So like when people leave powerlifting, or leave my gym, like say they go to a different gym. I do support them in that, and I do support what they think is best for themselves. If they think for their mental health it's good to take a break. Like I respect them if they're leaving powerlifting because they've decided they want to like pursue bodybuilding and they want to pursue endurance running. They want to do Pilates. Like people that I know like who want to do those things, like good for them. Like they aren't just quitting and then like never going into the gym ever again.
Right.
So like do you like that's totally fine. But it does make me sad. But I would say for the most part, I like it is so social media based that like a lot of times when someone is a power lifter, I follow them or they follow me and we start our relationship via social media, via Instagram. And like that's kind of like my main contact for a lot of these people because I don't have their numbers. I don't have their like other ways. I don't have them on Facebook. A lot of these people, it's just like on
Yeah.
Instagram, right? And so I keep up with some of them. Like I know, like again, and like I love seeing what they're doing. Like like I can think of like one who like does a lot more bodybuilding now, and like I support her in that. Like I want her to compete in bodybuilding. I would love to see her at a show. And one who just does more like what's it called? What's it called when you do like the body weight stuff and
Oh, like calisthenics?
calisthenics. Yes, she does a lot more calisthenics and she's just chilling out with the gym right now. Like she's just
Hmm.
chilling out, doing whatever she feels like going into the gym doing. And I love that for them. Like they are still being healthy. It is interesting, I will say, like and like one of them, like one of my friends became like a mom, right? And powerlifting training is harder. I feel
Mhm.
like then endurance running, making time for
Yeah.
endurance running, especially like I try to like walk on the treadmill like 2 to 3 times a week at least. I try to get like 5 to 7,000 steps a day. Like I'm trying for that cardio, but that's on top of training, right? And so
Mhm.
that's like a lot of work. And so if someone is still valuing their health a lot, like powerlifting might take a backseat because it's so much time,
Yeah.
especially if they're still doing the other things, right? So, anyways, but like I think of like these people and like I think I have less in common with them in some ways. And so I wouldn't say I don't write them off. I don't like we're not gonna ever talk again or something like that. But it's almost like the main time I'd see them was at the gym and we'd be
Mhm.
lifting together. Now they might not go to the same gym I go to. They might be doing a different style of training. They might have changed like jobs and so now they go at a different time and stuff. So like our paths just cross less, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't think many people just fall off from the face of the earth.
Yeah.
There are a couple people that like after they left the gym don't think they like keep up with like they don't keep up with me. It kind of like they do go AWOL, right? But
Mhm.
they probably weren't like really close friends of mine to begin with. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I still would say I think I've actively like of the three like girls that I would say are my friends that I met through powerlifting, I think I've talked to all of them within this week at like texting
Mm.
them. So like I would say they're still in my life. It's just like our relationship is probably different just because they don't overlap as much.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would you say? Would you say you see like people just kind of like go like missing from the face of the earth after quitting powerlifting?
I'm trying to think, but from what I can remember, it seems like a lot of people that I've seen quitting will make some kind of a
Mm.
my mental
Yep.
state isn't good enough for me to deal with this right now. I'm going to take a break. And they kind of disappear for a little bit. I think for the most part, they're still training, but they're just either taking a
Yeah.
break from the social media aspect, which I think can accelerate that feeling of being a
Yeah.
nobody or being just
Yeah.
a number or whatever, not being good enough. But yeah, I think they step away from social media. That's one thing. They stop pushing powerlifting so much. They might still squat, bench, deadlift, but their training style, I'm sure, looks a little bit different. But I've seen a lot of people take breaks and then come back,
Yeah.
which is good. I think I really like what you said about other sports having dedicated seasons because I think that gives you that okay, we're going to push really hard for 6 months and then we're going to have some off season, but then we're also going to have an entire month or two just completely off from whatever
Yeah.
sport that is, where we don't really get that. We kind of create our own seasons and off seasons and prep, but doesn't really follow a calendar year. Um,
That's
and then I
interesting
guess,
because like go ahead, sorry.
sorry, no, I was just going to say the only other people who I've seen quote unquote quit have done other things like Olympic lifting. I see a lot of switch over between that and bodybuilding as well.
So when other sports like basketball season, I feel like that's like a very easy way of saying like they have their on season and they have their preseason and then they have off season training, which I'm not a basketball player, but I was for a short period of time in high school, and I know that's very different than like professional or people who make it their like passion to play as an adult. But like off season, I feel like for other sports is more of a break than
Hmm.
powerlifting is. Like I feel like
Yeah.
my off season training is just different in the sense that I don't do like singles, like or as many singles, but like, and I do more accessories. But like, I don't think like I don't train less. I train 4 days a week still. So like, would you say like that is something that like if powerlifting or coaches in powerlifting could figure out dedicated off seasons, do you think that would lead to more people being consistent in the sport, or do you think that would actually lead to more people leaving the sport because like they step away for a while and then they never come back?
That's an interesting question.
Maybe just
I
training looks really different. I don't know. Like it's just something that like I think that there could be a benefit if we had true seasons of
yeah.
powerlifting. And I'm not saying we ever stop. Like we just stop and we don't squat for like 2 months, like at all.
Right.
But maybe there is significantly less time put into the compound lifts in an off
Yeah.
season. Whereas like right now I'm still benching 4 days a week and I'm off season for the next like 8 months. So
Yeah.
like I don't
I
know.
was
I don't know.
I was going to say too, if anything, I feel like off season is more strenuous. Like that's
Yeah.
where the work is put in. That's where
Yeah.
I feel like I spend more time because my volume goes up. My
Yep.
accessories are pushed harder. I might want to focus on adding cardio in where during prep, I might not have the mental capacity or physical capacity. I don't want to burn myself out on cardio. Yeah, so if anything, I feel like off season prep to me almost feels like a vacation because you come
Oh,
in
it is, yeah.
like your body kind of hurts and is going through the
Yeah.
ringer. But yeah, those last like 3 or 4 weeks of prep when everything is like threes and singles,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yep.
thank
It's just fun.
God.
Like it's like it's what you've trained for in all of off
Exactly.
season. And so it's almost like I feel like it should be the other way. Like I almost feel like there is no off season with like powerlifting. There's on season and then there's prep. Like you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know what a world would look like of doing it differently. I'm not even sure if I'd want to do it differently because I like
Yeah.
training all year round. Like
Yeah.
but I come from a background where like even in college, I trained 4 days a week of just like my weird program that it wasn't really a program, whatever I felt like doing, but I still went to the gym 4 days a week. And so I
Yeah.
don't know if I would want it to be different, but I wonder if there is a way that it could be structured more differently so
Mm-hmm.
that people don't feel that like you said, that burnout that they experience
Right.
from just doing it, going every day to the gym and doing your compound still, pushing accessories, and then maybe doing some cardio afterwards. Like that can
Yeah.
be brutal sometimes.
Yeah. And I think you had an interesting thing in your survey as well that asked about, are people dropping out because it got redundant? And I think that's a big thing too, is because other sports, it probably does become redundant, but I think since you're on a team and you're interacting with different people and
Mm-hmm.
different teams and different players and stuff like that, going to different, I don't know, let's take basketball because we've been talking about that as an example. Like you're going to different basketball courts, just stuff like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
where for the most part, the average powerlifter is going to the same gym, seeing the same people. And at the end of the day, it is a very individual sport until you're competing.
Yep.
Um, and you're just doing the same stuff over and over and over, which, again, I have never competitively done any other sport. So maybe other sports get repetitive as well. But I thought that was an interesting part that you had.
One thing that I was thinking of, and I wrote some like more thoughts last night about like thinking about, and these are you probably read them, but like it is interesting to me because like in comparison to other sports, I was like, where did I put this? Okay, so like yes, like seasons and games as opposed to like basketball has like these seasons game. I think you made a really good point with like the different courts, traveling, and even if you're doing a rec league, right? So you're just doing a rec league at the
Mm-hmm.
Y, you still have like other rec league teams coming to play. So it's different people you're competing against, right? So there's that novelty all
Yeah.
season long. And
Yeah.
then it's like in comparison to like bodybuilding, which is a lot more like you're seeing improvements. You're seeing yourself get more toned and more like showing this muscle, right? Like in your season, right? You're seeing like growth, like and powerlifting doesn't really have either of those things. It doesn't have like a lot of powerlifters don't look very different week to week unless they're going through a cut or a bulk. They don't and usually it's not like they're going through the process because they have to. Like I don't think most people like I don't know, bulking I guess bulking can be fun, but like and cutting can be fun, but like I just feel like it's not the payout that bodybuilders experience with like the
Yeah.
huge transformation. And so it's like you're not doing it because you see the transformation, and you're not powerlifting because you experience the novelty of different people coming in and the transient like teams here and there that you get to experience and play against. It's really you against you all year long, right? And you might be playing for preparing for a special meet coming up, and you might know that you're going ahead this person, right? But a lot of meets, like my last meet that I was in, I didn't have anyone in my division, right? So it's like a lot of meets like then you have to like kind of think, okay, what's the next thing I can aim for? Can I place overall in the entire
Mm-hmm.
meet? But then that's still only once or twice a year that you might compete, maybe 3 times if you're booking it for competitions. And
Yeah.
so there is a lot less of that novelty in that way. And like even and then even on top of it, like I was even thinking of like the different more skill based sports of like even CrossFit. CrossFit was so interesting to me in the sense like bash it however you want, like because it is goofy in some ways, but like there was always that idea of like, all right, once I get a kipping pull up, then I'll get a muscle up, right? And then
Hmm.
I'll be able to clean this weight, and like you still have the ability to build up like objective weights, but then also like your burpees will get faster, or you can repeat this one metcon 6 months later and you'll do it for like more time or more rounds you'll get in. So it's like there's almost like that like excitement with a lot of other sports, and I
Hmm.
hear a lot of people say like powerlifting can be really dry, and I've actually read like a couple good posts like lately from different like those team pages, and kind of like this idea of like good powerlifting training is to an extent boring.
Hmm.
And I think that's like a hard pill to swallow because it's not a skill that you're going to see it exponentially grow. It's not your body that's exponentially changing. It's not the novelty of different teams. It really is just, it's just, can you squat that weight for 20 more pounds a year from now? And
Yep.
all the training in between that gets you to that point. It can really get redundant. And like, I think that goes back to like community that's in the sport can
Yep.
make it more interesting, keep it more alive.
Hmm. I agree. I think it's the people you surround yourself with keeping it interesting for you, and not to like completely sound like a mom, but like what you make of it too. Like
Yeah.
it's easy to make the argument that yeah, it's boring. You're squatting, benching, and deadlifting every single day, but you have to find those things where, and I think for myself too, I do this a lot because I'm a super heavyweight female. So most local meets that I go to, I'm not going to have anybody else in my weight class. Maybe one.
Yeah.
But um I kind of have to find other things that drive me rather than just competition or just XYZ because I don't know. I think I talk about that a lot, but I think it's really important to remember like why you're doing things and what it's bringing you other than just the actual movements in the gym because it can get boring, but that's kind of life too.
Yeah.
Anything in life can get boring if you
Yeah.
want it to, or if you don't, make it exciting for yourself.
And that's like something I've been thinking about like recently, like entering back into off season. And like two thoughts kind of like came to mind when I was like, because I was even thinking about this, like how do I make it not redundant for myself? Because like I feel like I'm paradoxical in some ways because everything bores me and nothing bores me at the same time. Like
Mm,
I would be happy like hole punching, like that was like the joke at my like first job in high school. Like I worked like the desk at the grocery store, and like the woman was like, "Hope you would be happy like hole punching like papers for like 7 hours straight." And to some extent, I would, because like it gives you time to think, it gives you time to talk, it gives you time to like just chill out. Like there can be a lot of fun in redundant things. And so, anyway, sorry, that was off topic, but I was just thinking about like in my personal life, how do I make it more interesting? Because I am like a stimulus person. Like, how can I make everything so exciting in my life all the time? And it's not like that. You can't always be living at this high.
yeah.
And I just like think about like I almost think about it like cooking, like sometimes with my meal prep, like I'll have stages, right? And I think shopping is so boring and I think it's so stupid. But then I like love like chopping. Like I love chopping onions and I love
Mm,
chopping peppers and I love like that part. And then I think it's like I don't like cutting like meats up, but like I have to get it done. And like I think about it like almost like that with my training. Like there's some movements that I just like love and it's so much fun. But all said and done, like I'm all preparing for this one moment at the end. And it might be
mm,
like a several day process of from like the start of like making the list, buying the foods, preparing the foods, putting them in the baggies, putting them all together, seasoning, like that all takes like a long process, like 3 days sometimes, right? But like then you get like the culmination of the food. And I think like I have to like kind of think about it that way
yeah.
too. And so like and like you said, like sometimes there's not a lot of people like in my division, our divisions, like we don't have a lot of people competing against us. And so like I'm always thinking of like, okay, like I kind of like think like, okay, what can I do to get my dots to this score? And even though the dots is a flawed, like not perfect, I should say, I don't think it's flawed necessarily, but it's not a perfect system. It is fun to kind of see, all right, if I get this as my total, I can split my squat, bench, and deadlift up this way. All right,
Yeah.
how am I going to get that number for my squat? And like, I even, like, I'm a psychopath. So then I was even like, this past week, since it was like the new year, I was like, all right, what do I want my 5 rep max to be this year? What do I want my 4 rep max? And kind of like finding these milestones along the way, because I probably won't, I don't know. I hope Jeremy lets me more often max out, but he probably won't let me max out more than like 2 or 3 times this whole year, right?
Right.
And that's good. That's or I don't want to say for all my lifts. I should say 2 or 3 times. Like he might let me max out like certain lifts more, like bench or whatever. But like that's good. That's good programming to not bench out every single moment of the day or every time you go
Yeah.
to the gym. But like, what are the little milestones you can get along the way that you can kind of build block by block to get that thing at the end, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. And I think also you get to a certain point, because you were saying earlier about how do I keep this interesting for myself. I think obviously numbers are going to be the first thing everyone thinks of, because at the end of the day, that's what powerlifting is all about. But for myself, like last year I had kind of a hard year where I don't really feel like I didn't add much to my total. I didn't really PR all that much. And so I had to think of other things that were going to continue to drive me, because you get to a point and you're like, I haven't PR'd my squat all year. Like, this sucks, you know? So I've been looking at it as my technique looked this way last year, but it looks this way
Yes.
this year. Like,
Yep.
technique PR. Just kidding.
Yes. No.
But like everybody PRs everything. But
Yeah.
seriously, like you look at I used to good morning my squats up all the time. My
Yep.
squat technique has gotten so much better. My bench technique has gotten so much better. So just stuff like that keeps, and it's going to be different for everyone, obviously, but things that just keep you entertained, I guess, and things that keep your head in the game and gives you that longevity rather than just crashing and burning and feeling like I haven't PR'd in 6 months, I'm worthless, you know?
No, yes, yes. I think that was like that is a great point, and that's something that like I was talking to someone at a gym I was visiting last week about how like oh, this like RP5 looks so pretty, and like you just watch it over and over and over again. Like it's not heavyweight for you anymore, but it's like
Yeah.
so pretty. And so like that thing about technique, like your technique has improved, like that's a real thing. Like enjoy how pretty something looks. Or like all of my secondary and tertiary movements, I always try to think, how pretty can I make this? Like, you know, like my squat is not heavy today. That's not the exciting part for me today. The exciting part is like, how beautiful can I make this squat? And sometimes I just find myself like watch it over and over again, because it's like it's fun. It's fun to see like, yeah, like used a good morning. Like I don't even know what I was doing half the time with squatting, and I was like half like not even doing a full squat, and like now it's so deep, and now, or that pause was so crisp, like like those are fun moments that you can enjoy, and that makes it a little bit, just that little bit less monotonous together, you know?
Yeah. Another favorite thing I do is like, if you have a tempo, actually tempo it. Don't just, if it's a 3 count, you should not be going 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
you have it on your program.
Make that 3? Yep.
Yeah, you have it on your program for a reason. There's a benefit that you're going to get from slowing that movement down, or whatever it is, pausing. So like, give yourself the benefit of actually performing it correctly.
No, like it's so low-key, I'm like revealing my secrets right now if Jeremy watches or like listens to this. But like when he programs something that's like a tempo, if I can still meet the RPE at the weight that is my do not exceed, I will like try to tempo it or pause it for like as long as possible. So like if it's a 3, 2, 1, I will like if I can tempo that. He probably notices. Yesterday he asked me, he's like, "Are you feeling sore after your chest?" Where I tempoed like a 3, 2, 1 at like a 6, 5 probably, like, because like to me it's like it's like a challenge to myself, like how long can I make this pause and still meet the RP that he's prescribing, because I don't want to like overshoot the RP or anything, like, but like if I can make this a longer pause, I'm gonna do it, because then to me it's also like I'm showing off a little bit, like why not, like so I don't know, like there are ways you can make it fun and like and grow a ton that way. Like if you pause it for longer and still meet the RPE, you will, like, that will create even better adaptations over time. So
yeah, definitely. I have those. My coach gave me 5 count pause SSB squats.
Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal.
I'm like, does he hate me? No.
I already don't love SSB, so the idea of like pausing it for 5 seconds, like, and I saw you doing those the one week, like on your Instagram, and I was like, that weight too. I was like, couldn't be me, couldn't be me. But yeah, it was
Somebody
great.
somebody slid up and was like, I literally thought my story was like buffering because I'm like,
Yes,
yes,
it
I
was
did
so
it right.
frozen. That's like the best though. That's such a good compliment though. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what you want, right?
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, then you think about like the benefit, like my like lifetime milestone achievement. I want to squat 500 pounds,
Yeah.
and 500 pounds is not going to squat itself, you know?
Yes.
So if I have to sit in a hole for 5
Yep.
seconds with,
Yep.
300 pounds on my back, so be it.
Yep. I love that. I love that mentality too. Like I forget who, I remember someone saying, like posting that the one time, and like ever since then I've been like, yeah, 500 is not gonna, like I'm still, my next milestone is 400. Well, my next milestone is 375. Like those, like that's the fun part too, is like you can make whatever milestone you want to be a milestone. So 3 reds, and then competition 3 reds, and then 400, and then like I think 405 is technically even like, I think it's like another plate. It's like I want to say it's like a white with like 3, and then like competition. I don't
403.
know.
403,
403.
I
Okay.
think. Yeah,
Okay. So then it's like I feel like you can make so many things a milestone,
you
and like
can.
that's even fun to me. You know, like
Yeah.
stop comparing like, oh, this person already did 3 reds for like 5 reps. Like that's so embarrassing that I'm just doing it for one. Like that's a milestone. Like I
That's
get mad at myself when something doesn't look good, but then like also at the end of the day, you commented on something on my the first time I pulled 3 reds. You were like, Hope, why are you like angry about that? And I was like,
yeah.
I was thinking in my head, I was like, because it doesn't look good. But like at the end of the day, that's a milestone. That's huge.
Yeah.
So
And obviously it's easier to tell somebody else this than yourself in the moment. But my favorite thing to think about after a meet or a lift or whatever is there's always going to be areas for improvement. Like you can think
yeah,
about a meet, you failed your third bench, or a lift, you hitched your deadlift up or whatever. There's always, always, always going to be something that you can improve upon. But there's also always going to be something that you can be proud of too.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think it's important to keep those things in mind when you're
yeah.
tearing yourself apart, because you can always do that. But like, yeah, 3 reds, you might have whatever XYZ is going through your head, but you had never pulled that before, and you did,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think that's a good perspective to keep when you can go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think you talked about it. I don't know which, like, I think it was you. You like journal after, yeah, I think you were talking to Heidi. You journal after your meets, like, you try
Yeah.
to anyways, like your emotions or your feelings after a meet. And I was like, that is such a great idea. Like the other day I started, like, when I listened to that, I like started like a note on, just like different like emotions that I can remember having after like certain moments in powerlifting.
Yeah.
And even that was like kind of cool for me to go back through memory lane of like what, and like, yeah, I wish I would have done that after every meet. I think I journal a lot already, but I didn't realize until you said that actually in your podcast. I rarely journal about powerlifting because I don't know how to put it. Like, it almost feels like silly to journal about it, but like, I'm like, Hope, what are you doing? Like, stop doing that. Like, that's like going to be so beneficial to kind of remember how you felt, and like how you said, like, how can you recreate some good experiences that you've had in powerlifting. It's gonna be nice to look back and be like, these were my thoughts, this is how I got to that point.
Yeah. I think I did like a pre meet expectation.
I love that.
I don't journal a lot. I don't feel like I get a lot out of it. I usually just like talk about stupid stuff that is irrelevant. But I feel like doing the pre-meet like expectations, and then immediately after doing kind of your just immediate reactions and emotions to that experience. It's been kind of cool, and you look back and you're like, oh, that was irrational or whatever, but it's how you were feeling in the moment. So it's kind of cool to remember.
Yeah. No, I think that was really cool. That was like one of the best pieces of advice I think I've heard so far in powerlifting. It's just like, yeah, I really like that meet pre-meet expectations and go beyond. Like I think what would be beneficial to most people's mental state in powerlifting is don't just write, oh, I want to hit this number, and this number. Like that's all right
Yeah,
if you want
no.
to do that, but like
Yeah.
other things that are like you want to like I one of my friends just competed at Winter War with me and her goal was like she just wanted to get her opener squat because like she always got like nervous before her opener for squat
Yeah.
and like she got it and it was like that's like so exciting. Like that's a PR. Like that's
Yeah.
something to be like excited about too. So,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think if you can make it not quantitative,
yes.
it's more beneficial. But yeah, obviously like it's cool to have goals, number goals, but think outside the box as well.
Yeah, there's because then if you miss a number, even if it's by like 3 pounds, it's just a little bit disappointing. Whereas
Uh-huh.
if you have more like some subjective goals sprinkled in there, that those can be met a little bit more on a scale, right? On like a
Yeah.
spectrum, right? And
Yeah.
so like I think that's really tough because like our sport is so objective. Like it's like
Mhm.
either you got the squat for a 405 or you did it. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, but what about all those feelings? What about going to the gym when you felt like crap or you just had a bad day at work and you still went and like what about those like the days where you're like you made it your goal to like go to sleep earlier and you did for like a whole month during your prep. Like things like
Yeah.
that. Like those are huge goals to accomplish and those you should be proud of those. So,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I like that. Okay. I think that was most of the questions that I had. Was there anything that we didn't touch on that like you had in your mind that you wanted to make sure that we captured?
I feel like I talked about a ton. I feel like I talked your ear off, Sarah. No, I love talking to you. I mean, like, hey, we usually do our podcasts and Instagram voice memos, so this is new for us to
I know.
put on an actual podcast. But I think I really kind of touched on everything. I would love for powerlifting to be as sustainable as it possibly can.
Hmm.
I think it can be, maybe not for your entire life, but it can be in different capacities for a long time in your life. And so figuring out how to keep people to keep going when it stops being fun, like, okay, don't keep doing it, but like, why is it stopping being fun,
Right.
so yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think I got my point across somewhere in there. You have your work cut out for you in editing though, so
You're fine. No, I think this is really cool what you're doing, and I would love to revisit in like a few months when you have, even if it's a year, whatever. Like once you get to a point where you have some input and some conclusions that you're able to draw upon, I think it would be really cool to see, see what the consensus is.
yeah, all of this should be done within a yearish time because then I would love for people to like even listen to this and like make sure they fill out because people
Yeah.
who listen to this are probably either powerlifters or ex-powerlifters, so I would love
Yeah.
for them to fill it out if it pertains to them. Our goal is, she said about 100 people would be like a really decent like return rate, but I
I think
easily
you
think like,
yeah.
yeah, I think we could get more than that. Like I would love for as many people to fill us out as possible just to kind of get like a wide range of people from different backgrounds and different ways of life and stuff. And I don't want just like the state of Pennsylvania. Like I would love for the
Right.
whole US. I
Yeah.
think we're keeping it open for like other nations, I think. Because I have like a couple friends from other countries. I don't know what that would look like because there's different cultural demands, I think, sometimes in other, but anyways, all
Agreed.
that to
Yeah.
say, yeah, I would love for as many people from as many different backgrounds to kind of answer the questions so that we can get a really good variety of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll blast it everywhere.
I'm excited for the part where we actually get to look at the data, write it all out, write out our conclusions. Like that's the part I'm most excited about, and then kind of present it to different people who might be interested in having it presented to. So, yeah,
I'm excited.
I'm
I'm
excited too.
excited to see what kind of answers you get and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I hope people prove me wrong. I hope it's not like some of the reasons that I think people quit are quitting. I'm like I'm excited to be proved wrong if that's how it has to be. Like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I have my generalizations of why I think men or women quit and why they stay in it, but I would love to be proved wrong.
Can't wait to hear in a year how it all goes. Well, with that being said, I really appreciate you being here, and appreciate your time and appreciate your input and your thoughts. I appreciate the way that you think about things and you approach things. So it's been really nice chatting with you.
Much for like asking questions, and thank you so much for saying all that, because I feel the same way about you. I think I told, like, I think I said it in this, didn't I, that I stalked you before I knew you. Like, I think it's really cool that, like, very full circle, that, like, probably a year ago I was like, how does Sarah deadlift? And like, Sarah, I literally have some of your videos like saved of like how you deadlift, and like, I'm not kidding, I know it. So it's like, it's just crazy that like I now know you in person, and like I was on your podcast and talking with you. So that's really special to me. So thank you.
That's nice. I am sorry that you had to watch my deadlifts because that
No,
is
you're
my
there's
worst
not
lift.
no, but there's not many people that are as tall as us in powerlifting.
I
Like
know.
I don't I'm taller than every person at the gym. I am. I already know it. And like I like let alone all the girls. All the girls with their 5'6" legs. I'm so
Yep.
jealous, but
I know.
I have to travel to China and back to lift up a deadlift. So yeah.
Literally. It's so hard to try to watch other people's technique to
Yep.
get better.
Yep.
Trust me. I know. But all right, well, I will let you get on with your night. I appreciate your time again, and we'll talk more soon.
All right, thank you,
All
Sarah.
right.